Shannon Williams. Some of you may know me as the voice of Jet. And I'm super excited to be hosting Valorant's first live stream of 2024 with episode 8, Act 1 starting tomorrow. We'll be looking at what's coming out with devs from the narrative, cinematic team, as well as the gameplay, expressions, and maps team. We'll talk about the episode 8 cinematic, Outlaw, Kuronami skin line, and map updates to Lotus and Icebox, and anything else we can squeeze into an hour. Now, let's get started.
My friend has questions for the boss, and you are going to tell us where to find him. 还有，我不干了。
This is going to be fun.
I have them. Cypher.
Where is the target?
We scurried up to the penthouse. It's more fun when they run, isn't it?
Mark.
I think you will like this. What I like is for you to hurry. What? Answers. Nice to see you again. Tell me about Shrouded Step.
Straight to the point. Always was your style. Sorry. We cannot have you vanish again. Ghost. Something's not right. I'm getting interference.
Heading to a new position.
Shrouded Step was a simple directive. You were our most talented asset. Who better to safeguard our secrets? To keep the discovery of Radionite from a world that wasn't ready. Imagine our surprise when we realized who you were. And that you became one of them. being ripped apart by this machine, or knowing your greatest failure? Now hold your leash.
Cypher, shut it down.
Give me a moment. Time to undo that mistake.
We're out of time. Nowhere to run. No!
Friends, it's time to go.
Omen, did you get what you came for?
For now,
Viper wants a full report.
I will deliver it. Personally.
This was fun.
All right, welcome back. That was a crazy cinematic. We have the cinematic story team here, Chase, Mike, and Joel. Let's start with the episode 8 cinematic. Where are we in the story so far?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
All right.
So this story kind of picks up shortly after ISO has joined the team, joined Valorant. When ISO joined, he joined under sort of false pretenses. His loyalties were originally to another group. This group that's associated with this hourglass symbol. Their name is Scions of Hourglass. And he has this kind of hit list taking people out. And at the top of his list, his assignment is to take out Omen. He, in getting to know Valorant, kind of looking for his perfect chance to strike, changes loyalties. And so Omen learns that this secretive organization wants him dead for some reason.
Right.
So he's out for answers. Omen's been out for answers for a long time. So time to team up with some old pals to learn a little bit more about Omen's past. And so that's kind of where we pick
A little
up.
bit more? What do you mean a little bit more? Is this all we're gonna get for now? Is there nothing else? No other answers?
There's always more layers to the onion.
Okay.
For sure.
All right. What were the biggest challenges story-wise in getting this cinematic made? That's a hard question, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
I think for us, it's the first conversations of like, what do we have? Like going to Joe, like, hey, what's on the shelf? Like, what do we have that we really want players to know? What haven't we seen yet? What's coming up? But it's always it's that letters where we're laughing. It's like, how much do we want to put out there? Because one of the things I think Val's storytelling does really well and is somewhat frustrating for people, but also very engaging and exciting, is that we answer a question and raise a question. And I know for this one, we wanted to really have some sort of big lore moment. So it was really, what's the connection, and then who, like, how do we actually get that story out? I think that's another thing, is we can just tell it. I think we went into this cinematic with like the idea of flashbacks, who knows what. But it's always, how much do we want to put out there versus, and I think we paid off more in this one than we have in some past.
I love that you guys love leaving breadcrumbs
Yeah,
for
totally.
all of us.
Absolutely.
Just want to know more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a big balance, I think, too.
True.
So like we have the narrative, but then there's also like where we are in the story, but then there's also, okay, what's happening to the product?
Right.
So the outlaw in this case.
Right.
What's the cool way that we can debut that? And then there's also like where the player's at, because this is all for the player. It's a new year. There's new beginnings for everyone.
For sure.
And there's a lot of new beginnings in this.
Yes.
We loved resetting the meme of Cypher and actually giving him his moment to shine.
He survived.
He thrived.
Survived this time.
Yeah, believe it or not, we're all Cypher fans here. We really
I
are.
love that. I love that. And I was just talking about it earlier. I love that like nobody saw what his head looked like before the hat went on, and I was like, yes.
That's what we were talking about. Like,
challenge too.
one of
That
the
was a
first
challenge
things.
too.
I think that's challenges. Is this is like how do you some things in game are there for clarity and others are there conceptually, and for us like in a cinematic, it's another conversation we have, which is what can happen directly, like a Silva arrow that can be direct, and what do we need to interpret? And we nailed the the Cypher hat pretty early, 'cause it's like we wanted to get that iconic Cypher silhouette door, and he needs his hat. And like nobody wants to see him without his hat. And in the game it just goes like boop and it's gone. So for us it was like how do we we had to sketch up design and get that. But that's another one of those things where it's like we can interpret in a way that feels cool and true and then still maintain creatively what we wanted, which I think for Cypher was that whole intro. Everybody was super excited to give him a moment, give him a little bit of a body count.
I'm happy. I'm happy that's the way that we went about it,
too.
because he's finally on screen for longer than a couple seconds.
Yes.
I'm very happy about that. So in the cinematic, there are apparently a few Easter eggs.
Yeah, more than a few.
Would
here.
we more too?
We'll get a list.
Okay. You have a list? You're prepared.
Because I wouldn't remember them all. Okay, so we show 2 new products. The Kuronami Melee is in the background. That's a little hidden. Obviously the Outlaw. We have 8 weapons in our arsenal that are used. There's a nice little reference to Lotus with one of the Lotus flowers. We have 5 references to in-game voice lines. We showcased a total of 10 agent abilities. We featured 2 agent contract weapons. You have Cypher's Ghost and Omen's Ghost.
Yes.
And then there were 8 existing skin lines that were showcased in the penthouse.
That's a lot of little details you guys just decided to add.
It was a slow burn. It was like slowly we're like, oh, we could use this here. Oh, we got to use the contract weapons. He's going through it.
Yeah.
There's a certain point where the story or the shots are like settled enough where you two begin like talking to every single team and going like, what can we pack into this? What can we do? What can we do? And you find every single little inch. We talked a lot about the melees that we could sneak in there in the background.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun to talk
plan
about.
around Easter eggs, but I think with this one we're always looking for the opportunity early, like functionally what's it going to do. And we always looked at the penthouse as kind of like Easter egg town. And there were some that are very obvious, like we put actual products, and some that are more like thematic, like the fact that we reference Omen as Ghost.
Yeah.
There's 2 ghosts, there's specters, there's phantoms. Like even when we're choosing weapons and things, there's more like
there's another one.
thematic choices that are in there.
It's the trophy.
Oh, yeah. We forgot about that.
Yeah, we've canonized the VCP trophy.
Well, it had Radio Night in the middle of it. It fit with everything else in there.
No, but I think it's really cool to see like the actual care and creativity that goes into like adding all these little bits of like, I guess, Easter eggs. Like it shows that there's a lot of care that goes around that. So I think it was fire. It was really
I think that's the goal for us.
Yeah.
It's like there's a level of detail. Like it's kind of the way we roll out the stories. Like there's the big beats, and then there's the smaller. There's like social assets, and then there's voicemail. The deeper you go, it's not like there shouldn't be a required reading, but I do think the deeper you go, the more value you get out. And I've always looked at that. I remember looking at like the Lord of the Rings. I was gonna age bad, but like the Lord of the Rings VHS extra features.
A VHS is crazy.
Yeah. You're gonna have to. Let's talk about it
You're gonna have to
later.
explain VHS.
What's a VHS?
We'll talk about it later, but it was just like the details that they would put into making languages and buttons and all that stuff.
Right.
I think it's just an applied thing. If you realize something in the background was put there deliberately and it's a nod to a community meme or a conversation, I think then you get like, oh, the people that made this really do know us.
Absolutely.
I think that's what we're trying to do. Is I was just trying to make something cool, but like something cool for Valorant players specifically and our champions specific, or agents specifically. So yeah, I think hopefully that comes across. But seeing like fun little memes is cool too. But yeah, it's a level of care, I think, is what we're hoping to get across.
Well, speaking on the level of care and attention to detail, where does the story go here?
Joe?
Yeah. So Omen kind of has a lot to think about coming out of this, right? In this moment, his head, I'm sure, is roiling with these revelations that have come back, and yeah, he's got to have an interesting conversation with Viper now.
Yeah.
He's going to feel certain ways. I think there's this question of like moral ambiguity, like. How justified or unjustified were Viper's actions based on the fact of why Omen was there to begin with?
Right.
And yeah, there's more to learn, right? I think Omen is absolutely facing this question of does the fact of who I was change who I am, or like how does that inform? I think that's a big question right now. So Omen for sure is about to go on a bit of a journey here. And this secret group, these Hourglass members, this is probably one cell of a large organization. They've got more secrets to hide, and I think the chase is on.
Interesting. It's like a lot of information, but also not at the same time. I love that.
I've gotten really
Really good at it? Yeah.
Also, I'm so sorry.
So that's what we do. I feel terrible because we also do that. It's like, hey, this is where we're going to go. And then where's the story go, Joe? We're setting something
It's just
up.
your
You know what you're gonna do?
responsibility now.
Don't let this happen. This is a full team effort, everybody.
Full faith, man. It's gonna be
Team
cool.
effort.
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for answering my questions. I'm looking forward to the next updates, hopefully soon. I would like to know some more. And we'll be taking a quick break, and we'll see you in a bit. right, welcome back. We are here with the gameplay team, Coleman and Nick. Already got a bit of a, I guess, visual peek of what the Outlaw looks like, and I was wondering, how would you describe Outlaw?
Ooh, okay. So how would I describe the Outlaw?
Yes.
It's a unique. It's a sniper rifle with unique mechanics that's extremely lethal and quick. Is a short, succinct way I'd put it. And do you want me to go into some more detail about that?
Maybe more.
A little bit more? Okay, sure. So it's got some unique features, as I mentioned within the little tidbit. Primarily the big one is that it's semi-automatic versus the other sniper rifles that when they're zoomed and they shoot, they sort of break their zoom.
Right.
For the Outlaw's case, it doesn't break out of the zoom. You can kind of shoot both of its shots extremely fast. And so with that, it's going to be something that, like, and I'm sure some people have seen the cinematic, Omen's kind of whipping that thing around and you know, getting double kills and stuff. So that's something I think that's going to come through when you actually play with the weapon as well. So extremely quick, extremely lethal if you're precise, and has a good amount of depth
You're precise, yeah.
Yeah, if you're precise to some extent, of course, you could argue that body shots aren't as precise, but it's not going to kill everybody in the body. But if you get 2 headshots, that's just good kills,
Right.
So we're hoping that aspect that comes through, like that precision, is going to be like, yeah, that's those are some sick shots. But yeah, that's kind of most of the sniper rifle. The other one thing I'd mention too is that, like, it also is like has a pretty long delay between reloading if you've emptied both shots.
Right.
And so it takes quite a long time to reload, and so you'll be vulnerable at that time. So you have this extremely quick, lethal method of killing people, but also if you don't get those kills, you're really susceptible to being rushed.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it sounds really interesting, and now I'm questioning why introduce the gun now?
Sure, yeah. So I can talk about that a little bit. So one of our philosophies for weapons in Valorant is that every weapon needs to really have a reason to exist. Things that it's good at and things that it's not good at. Val's a game where, like, any gun that's in any given game only exists there because a player bought it within the buy round. It's not like you're finding them out on the map and kind of having to make it work.
Right.
So we want every gun to have a reason that players are excited to buy it, a plan that they want to do with it. And previously, before we launched Val, we actually had more weapons, and we pruned down to the arsenal we have today as a result of that philosophy. But we've been watching as the game's been developing over time and trying to see if we feel like there's an opportunity or some sort of niche that we can fill. And with the Outlaw, we believe that we found one in terms of when you look at the sniping playstyle. It's a playstyle a lot of players love. It's very iconic. But there's this big gap between the Marvel and the Operator in terms of the presence of that playstyle and the power profile of that playstyle. And the Outlaw is this weapon that sits really in between. It's at this like 2,400 price point. Has high damage break points, but you pay a lot of dividends for that in terms of these really long reload times, only 2 shots in the chamber. So we believe that we found a way to sort of express that play style and give those types of players something that they can be excited about and sort of fill that gap, which is something we're not going to be adding tons and tons of weapons to the game. It's that we want to make sure that we're very conservative with and very delicate with whenever we add new content here. So we wanted to take our time and make sure that we were confident, but with the Outlaw, we feel pretty good that we found an opportunity to capitalize on.
Right. Well, I mean, then there must have been a lot of challenges along the way with making Outlaw. Were there, like, any particular ones that have kind of stayed during?
Yes. The particularly difficult ones was finding the right damage for it, and also even the bullet count. It wasn't always a 2-shot thing as far as I recall working on it. We had like 1s, we had 3s, and it was always going to be low. But like even going down, figuring out the 2 actually took some time to find out. But I think the damage was much more difficult to do, and like we ended up settling on 140 to kind of like definitely not kill heavy armor, but certainly kill like light armors and kind of give this opportunity for like what we hope is that like for a lot of different characters to shot this, like characters that do a small amount of damage, like chip damage with their utility, instead of something that like I've really noticed from playtesting is like Killjoy's turret does like 12 damage on a burst, and then you outlaw somebody, or like you can kind of pair up with it, and so it can give some characters new methods and to play with the sniper rifle. Players who are characters who often maybe don't buy sniper rifles as much.
Right.
But of course, it'll still be good in the hands of characters who do buy sniper rifles, such as yourself.
I see.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that like those were some of the difficulties. Price point too, like when you have something like when they kind of flow in together. It's like the damage is hard to figure out, and it's like it's killing me on a lot of rounds. Like what's the price point going to be? We fluctuated anywhere from like 3,700 to like 1,800. Like we had all types of stuff we were trying out, but we eventually landed at this price point.
Okay, so then this is like a genuine question. So then when you're making this gun, right, I'm sure there's like a certain vision you have of like, okay, if a player has this would be so sick to see them do. Is there anything like that like any, I guess, excited, like, not expectation, but I guess you're looking forward to seeing players do with Outlaw, if that makes any sense?
I think one thing, at least for me, is one of the things that's really interesting about like making content in Valorant is a lot of times you can conceptualize like the whole game and a lot of the scenarios as like a puzzle, and any piece of content that we're adding to the game is fundamentally it's presenting a puzzle to players in order to solve when you're playing against it, or it's players sort of a solution to a problem that they're being presented with, right? Think about this like Sentinels a lot of times. Like, yeah, when you're playing against like a Killjoy, she's presenting you with a puzzle on how to solve her setup, but Killjoy is also really good at solving problems. If a team's just like 5 team rushing a given site, Killjoy can stop that.
Right.
So for me, more so like any one specific thing that I'm interested in seeing with players play with the Outlaw, I'm interested in seeing how players engage with that puzzle. It's something, the Outlaw is a very sharp weapon. It's very good in certain scenarios, and it's very bad in other scenarios. And we have built a lot of that into the design of the weapon. So like the first bullet fired and the second bullet fired sound different, for example, because we want, if you fire both those bullets, you have a really long reload. It's one of the longest reloads in the game. So we want players to be like keying off of that, thinking about how they're going to punish the Outlaw player when both their bullets are spent. But then on the Outlaw player side, we're really interested to see how they're capitalizing things like the Killjoy turret burst or a little bit of Viper decay. So for me, I think there's lots of highlight plays on both sides of the equation, like how players are like, oh, let's throw a Sova drone at them and make them spend their first bullet, or Outlaw players like playing around their utility or chip damage. But more than anything, I'm really excited for the sort of sandboxy nature of Valorant to come out, to see how teams are strategizing both with and against the Outlaw, and sort of where things land as a result.
Well, I'm excited and also terrified for the new act. Well, thank you so much for answering all of my questions. I appreciate you both, and we'll be taking a quick break, and we'll be joined with the Expression team. am here with the Expressions team. We have Sean and Pretty here. Hello, hello, hello. All right, I want to start off with the new skin line Kuronami. Can we walk through that bundle?
Yeah.
What's in there?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is a really big one. We're super happy with the way this turned out. We've been working on it for a while. We've had a lot of challenges with this one. The skin as a whole is sort of ninja theme that started out as this crazy like elemental. We wanted to play around with like different elements that we had. We said this like a little too ambitious. We decided like let's stick with water. Let's go all in on that. And so the whole theme itself should be like this really sleek, sharp like water assassin kind of vibe that you get with it. We have been trying out some new things with like animations and VFX, even melee weapons that we didn't really think we would do before. But now coming back to it, it's like, okay, cool, this might actually prove out some things for us to really know more going forward. And we're actually really curious to hear how players respond to a lot of this. So I think we have some videos playing right now. I'll let this kind of go for a second.
Can we talk a little bit about that? At the beginning, you saw that like equip animation,
right?
Where it kind of summons the gun out of like it's a very different kind of equip animation. We don't do a lot of equip animations.
Yeah, I mean, the Preety used the word summoning, right? Like that was the one of the very first equip animations we ever tried with like Reaver back in like 2019,
right?
Where we wanted to like magically summon the weapon, and just for competitive integrity, it didn't really feel good because didn't really tell what the gun was before it was there, and you needed to know right away. And we feel like players have kind of gotten used to the game. They know a little bit more now, and so it's not as daunting to see something come up. Like we've done this with the Radiant Entertainment System, we've done it with the other things, so we're trying it out a little bit more. Hopefully it's not too distracting. And so obviously, you know, all the whistles in this skin line with features that we have, the crazy finisher we have that has environmental effects now, the water bubble you can shoot. So there's a lot of like ambitious things we're trying with this.
Wait, that's funny.
You can shoot that?
Yeah, you can shoot it.
You can shoot the water bubble.
You can also walk into it, and your allies can shoot it. So it's going to be...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
It was really fun. Someone on the internet said something to me. It's like ISO's ability.
Yeah, basically.
It's not, but...
Yeah.
That's fire.
Right.
So there are like, how many different variants are there? Three,
Well,
right?
there's like the base one.
Right. Because I've seen that each variant has a different sound or like a jingle.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. Every gun and every event, I think, has a different little ninja theme to it.
That's actually cool because that's like so much detail that's added onto that. Okay, so moving on. What are the goals with the theme and design in general?
We wanted you to feel like very like fast, sharp, accurate. There's a term he really liked that I used that it was like harness the power of the storm. Like you want to feel very, I guess ninja-like, to put it simply. So hear a lot of things even in the sounds like blades and things like that. The water sound is also really different too. It's not like the blub blub of Neptune. Like very intentionally, it shouldn't feel kind of silly. It should feel more like powerful. Think storm, not like fish tank.
Yeah, I think even with sound, that was the thing that when we're doing like weapon selection for the bundle, we were talking about, oh, it's ninjas, it's got to be like all silenced weapons. But we're like, no, I think we can go a little bit crazier with it. So I think, yeah, and one of the first tests that we had for the Vandal firing audio, it just sounded as if swords were just clashing together the whole time, every time you fire. I was like, oh, that's really cool. It's kind of like this really nice ninja battle happening. See the melee that we're seeing here as well. It's like, we're still playing around with dual melees. I know players have mixed reactions to some of them, but this one is a brand new animation set from the equip to all the attacks. Everything is brand new. So we're hoping this one actually really hits for a lot of players. What we've been finding, and we've been getting a lot of good feedback that players want to feel fast when they're moving with a melee weapon, and so some of the bigger, clunkier ones don't let you really feel that way. So hopefully this one kind of still gives you that like really agile, sleek sort of feel when you're running around.
It looks really good. I've seen it and I was like, I need to get this skin.
So which variant?
I typically I do like the base one actually. I do like the base, yes. Because I typically, if there are any other skins that have the white variant, I typically like it because it's just clean. But I do like the base one because it's just so like anime, like ninja-like, and I was like, yeah.
I've seen a lot of people go white one to Jet. What do you think?
To which one?
To Jet. Yeah, go with this fits Jet.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know, but I love Jet's blue kind of dominant color that she has, so that might be why I like the base color more. But it just all looks fire, and it looks really sick. I also, actually, before I forget, wanted to ask about, since the Outlaw is also being added, if there are any skins for the Outlaw also.
There are, and I know, like, the elephant in the room is like, why doesn't Konami have an Outlaw skin? Like, why is there a Marshall? So happy to talk about that, actually, a little bit. So, and then we'll talk about the other Outlaw skins. So, we were talking to the gameplay team about working on the Outlaw. They tried to find, like, the right window that would fit due to, like, different considerations in the game, and right now it was the right time to release it. And based on how much time we had to make the gun, because we have to finish making the gun, then we make the skins, we realized there's no way we can make a high-tier skin. It takes us like over a year to make a high-tier skin. And it seemed really troll to say, well, let's finish a skin, like a high-tier skin, and then release it. Like, we don't do that. Like, we're making stuff for the game, and like, first and foremost, like, it's important to us to like do the right thing for the game. So that meant we only had time to do more low-scope stuff. Coincidentally, we also wanted everyone to have time to learn the sounds, the animations, like just the silhouette, like what does the gun look like? And if we introduce a bunch of crazy stuff, it's going to be hard for people to really understand what the Outlaw looks like and feels like and sounds like. So it had a lot of really good reasons for us to kind of start off with more like forward skin. So we actually picked, and if you want to talk a little about this, we picked like Ego and Prism, which were like throwbacks to 2020.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of just basically act as if this was back in 2020 when we had that first, what was it, like 4 or 5 months of skins coming out. All the same ones that we had, like the ones that we felt were done a little more successfully. We decided, hey, let's just do a bundle and just have this be like the catch-up, right? So now Outlaw should have the same type of weapons that or skins that like the Vandal and Phantom had, you know, back in early 2020. And then eventually we'll get to more higher tier ones down the line that we're working on now. But
yeah, we do have some in the works.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, it is pretty early, so I understand it probably. Either way, I'm just excited to see future Outlaw skins.
For sure.
Yes.
It's literally like the day after the Outlaw was done. We were like, let's start planning.
On the skins? That's crazy.
Yeah, let's start planning, because we have to if we want to get them out in time.
True, it takes that long.
So not right away, and that's also why this Battle Pass doesn't have one yet.
Okay.
We're hoping for it very soon, but it takes time.
Oh man, I'm super excited though. I'm super excited for the new skins that are coming out, and of course we get the Outlaw with the throwback skins added with it, and of course, as Pretty said, we're also getting Outlaw skins in the future being worked on, so there's a lot of excitement for that. Thank you so much for answering all my questions. I was stuttering most of the time.
No, you're great, you're great.
And we'll be taking a quick break. We'll be right back. right, welcome back. I have the maps team here with me. We have Joey and Albert talking about all things with maps. So, I need to ask, why did you feel at this point in time Lotus and Icebox needed updates?
Yeah, sure, I can start off. So a couple things. You know, we're always monitoring and evaluating feedback from players, and we're really excited to bring back a map like Icebox because we haven't actually had updates on it since I think February 2022. The other thing too that the team want to do, looking at the feedback, also is do multiple major changes to Lotus because again we haven't done that one I think since January of last year when we launched. So thought it was a good time for us to actually do those changes on the maps. And again, Icebox is a map that fans are excited to have come back. So again, super excited that we can actually get that back into the rotation.
And Joey, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You said back in 2022 that Icebox is a map that pushes for more complexity and cool gameplay. How do these changes play into that?
I see you came with receipts.
Sure
did. Yeah, Icebox is one of our, I would say, one of our more unique maps. It definitely has more of that verticality. It's got more complexity. In some ways, these changes are pulling back on some of the complexity. You know, we are simplifying some of the routes B site, but in some ways too, we're adding a lot more options and complexity with like the window that oversees towards defender spawn and towards A site. We're trying to find ways to keep what's unique about our maps, but like also like push them a little bit further so that they have these, again, unique identities in our pool as we have more and more maps.
Okay. Then which change on each map do you think will impact players the most?
Oh man. Yeah, I think the window that we added in mid on Icebox is going to like have a pretty big impact.
Okay.
You know, it looks like a very small change, right? It's like, oh, we punched a hole into tube and like there's just like this window now. But what that window like really opens up is just like a lot of different options and like, you know, there's this on Icebox, there's like sneaking through mid as an attacker, right? It's kind of like hard to take. Like you get up into this tube, it's just like a long hallway. But now there's like, you know, there's options where, oh, you get into a fight in kitchen. Oh, I'm gonna bail. I'm gonna jump out of the window. Or your team's taking A site, you take tube, and now you're like looking over defender spawn for rotators and stuff like that. So I think that one's gonna have like a pretty big impact. I think people are also gonna get shot in the side as they rotate through defender spawn for a bit.
Love that for us.
Yes, but I think everyone will like learn it and get used to it. At least, you know, we have confidence in you guys to do that.
Yeah, really excited to see the changes for that too. I mean, like, I know mid is a section in Icebox that we're really evaluating and looking at.
Right.
So with these changes, really excited to see what feedback we're going to get from players and see how like the game changes slightly in terms of that map.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think on Lotus, it's going to be the changes to the chokes. I don't think like one specific thing, but I think, you know, as Al was mentioning earlier, we were looking at the data and, you know, Lotus was a bit of an attacker-sided map. I think that it's good too because it matched up with our sentiment that it was very attacker-sided. So we kind of introduced a lot of like little changes across the entire map to hopefully kind of just slow down attackers a bit and, you know, make them a little bit more utility or just put some more thought into like how they're breaking onto sites and then like how they're holding stuff as well.
Okay. Well, you may have answered this already while we're talking, but were there any like particular challenges in while making these like changes to these maps, like anything that you have in mind that was like, this is hard, like how do we balance this? How do we figure out this detail?
Yeah, I think, you know, for Icebox it was like trying to keep the identity. I think there is this, I think it would be easy to sort of like make our maps feel very similar to one another and be like, oh, everyone likes how this one plays, so let's make it more like that one. But I think it's important that our maps like kind of have their own like unique flavors, right? So for Icebox, it's like, how do we, you know, clean it up, but like keep it unique? And then I think for Lotus, it's trying to introduce things that might be frustrating to players, like 50-50s on choke points. But it's one of those that it's healthy, right? It's like, okay, like attackers can't just storm the site and look at like 2 spots anymore. You know, they have to think just a little bit more like how to break into things, like what utility to use. Defenders have more options now. But sometimes, you know, there's like that tension of like, oh, we got to learn a new corner, right? So
For
balancing
sure.
those expectations is difficult.
Yeah, we're also like really careful too. You know, like the spectrum of players that play Valorant is so wide too, right? Like you know, we're not just looking at like feedback from like our esports players, right?
Right.
We get like you know players who play our different modes, the general audience, as well as like our internal QA teams, right? We have like professionals that play full time our game, and analyze stuff like our agent and our maps. So. We're really extra careful about like what changes we introduce to the maps, and again, continue looking at that feedback so that we can try to make the best experience possible.
For sure. Well, I'm excited for these changes. I know, is there possibly a new map that might be teased soon or anything like that? You know, I'm just, you know, like I'm just seeing something.
Hey, we are always working on cool stuff. The maps team especially, you know, we've got folks across, actually globally, like not just here in LA, also up in Seattle, and also in Singapore. We are always super excited for the next maps that we're building, and we hope we can share soon.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say we are working on more maps. As far as when those will get teased or what those are, you know, stay tuned.
Couldn't do it. Well, thank you so much for answering a lot of my questions. I am super excited, and I found a lot of this information very helpful and has hyped me up to start playing in the new episode, the new act again. And I hope it was helpful for everyone else watching also. Thank you so much to everyone here, and also to you guys for tuning in and watching, and good luck in your games in the next episode, the next act, and I will see y'all soon.